In today's show, Shaden Sharp dominates the second half, and the Blazers win their second game in a row, beating the Pistons in Detroit. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. Listen to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen. Coming at you every single weekday, Monday through Friday, so make it a part of your daily routine. Tell your friends to do the same as Locked On Blazers, your team every day. Somebody slow down your Portland Trailblazers, winners of 2 in a row after they get a win in Detroit. We'll talk about that one, do our fastest recap in the West. Shaden Sharp, 26 in the second half. Balling to make sure the Blazers get a win in this one. We'll talk a lot about Shaden Sharp in the second segment. And then we'll close talking Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Aton, who are developing a little bit of chemistry, and a couple other positives from this one in the third segment. Let's start by doing what we do. Your fastest recap in the West. Blazers win in Detroit 110-101. They're down 26-32 after one. Looks like, just maybe they're going to have one of those nights again in the second quarter, trailing by as many as 18 with, under 3 minutes to go in the first half. But they rally, score the final 6 points of the half, and go into the break only down 12, 59-47, which opened the door for a monster second half from Sharp. Blazers do not take the lead back, but they do a lot of good work in the third quarter. They go into the fourth down 1, 83-84. They finally get their first lead since about 5 minutes into the game, a little less than 4 minutes into the game, Jeremy Grant hits a three from the corner off a nice little split cut action. DeAndre Aton looks off to Monty Kamara, hits Jeremy Grant in the corner, three, splash, 6:51 left in the fourth quarter. It took him, a quarter and a half to get back from down 18, but they did yeoman's work to get there. Then Shaden Sharp helped close the door. This game was tied with 3 minutes and 40 seconds left. Shaden Sharp scored 5 straight points for the Blazers to make sure they never gave it back up. Malcolm Brogdon closed the door late after a Monty Kamara put back, and then the Blazers get a stop, and Malcolm Brogdon ices the game with a jumper. The Blazers hold on to win, coming back from 18 down to win handily, outscoring the Pistons 27-17 in the decisive fourth quarter. They win 110-101. That's your fastest recap in the West. Jeremy Grant, when none of the Blazers could score in the first half, kept them afloat. 24 points. DeAndre Aton, who I thought had a solid game, 16 points and 10 boards to go along with 5 steals. He's active, and it helps that the Pistons were playing a lot of Marvin Bagley minutes and a very brief James Wiseman cameo that went terribly. 14 for Malcolm Brogdon off the bench to go with 6 boards and 6 assists. Scoot Henderson, 11 points and 7 assists. He checked out in the third quarter basically at the normal time he usually checks out, like he would come back, and he just never came back. He was ruled out midway through the fourth quarter officially with a sprained ankle and did not return, but there wasn't, it wasn't obvious live, and he didn't come out like right away after an acute moment. He just went to the bench and it's like, my ankle hurts, and then he went to the back and was ruled out for the remainder of the game. I think pretty telling is that Monty Kamara finished the game. That's the second straight crunch time moment where it's been Kamara on the court when Scoot has been unavailable. First because of foul trouble, and now because of and this one because of an injury. But it's when they need a defensive small forward to close games, they're going with Tumani, and he had a big offensive rebound and put back. It's certainly not Matisse Thybulle, who played scoreless in his 17 minutes. Pistons side, we haven't done their scoring yet. Or their box score yet, rather, excuse me. Oh, and I didn't mention Shaden Sharp because I'm going to talk about him a whole bunch. 29.7 boards, 5 assists, and a steal, along with 2 block shots for Sharp. He was electric in his 42 minutes. He was just took over the game in the third quarter. We'll talk all about it in the second segment. On the Pistons side, Cade Cunningham led the way with 30 points, 4 assists, and 5 boards, but he was 11 of 27. The Pistons playing this game without Jalen Duren, who's been awesome to start the year, their starting center, second-year player. He's been great, but he had a sprained ankle, didn't play. Also, Alec Burke missed this one with left forearm soreness, and Alec Burks is just propped up the second unit. He scores on a team that desperately needs someone to score. Asar Thompson, 16.7 boards, 12 for Beef Stew Isaiah Stewart to go along with 6 boards and 4 assists. Marvin Bagley, 10 points, 6 rebounds. Jaden Ivey, 10 points off the bench, 11 for Marcus Sasser in a very productive 17 minutes. The youngster off the bench, and James Wiseman, 4 points in 6 minutes. The Pistons were outscored by 15 in the 6 minutes he was on the court. Tough one for your boy James, getting his first action of the season. So that is that's your box score numbers to know. I want to talk about 2 things. One, I think Jeremy Grant was crucial in the first half, just like scoring points. I talked about yesterday, like a key to the Blazers, kind of how they're going to win games that they need Jeremy Grant to be good. He has 24 in this game on 7 of 16 shooting. He hilariously had 1 rebound and 0 assists. Jeremy doesn't rebound and he doesn't pass, but they need him to score, and they need him to score efficiently. He was 2 of 4 from 3, hit 8 of 10 in free throws. They need him. That's what they need from him. And he was crucial in the first half. Shaden Sharpe goes 1 of 5 with 3 points. Malcolm Brogdon was fine, but not hyper efficient. Like they needed just stabilizing effort, and he was crucial. And the final 2.5 minutes of the first half, it saved the game for the Blazers. Absolutely saved the game. Like, they have this ugly second quarter where they just can't get it going. They only score, they only score 21 in the second quarter. It's just like they're limping through it. And they weren't out of it, but they were down, 8, 10, 11 for most of that second quarter. And then and they just can't get going, and the Pistons just rip off 6 or 8 straight quick ones to go up by 18 on, and getting run outs off turnovers and run outs off just like miscues and stuff. And the Blazers just, it's like, dang, they had played better against in their last game, and get a win, and it's like, okay, they beat the Raptors, but dang, when it's just like they can't put 2 in a row together. It's frustrating. But they had huge buckets in the final 2.5 minutes of the first half. Jeremy Grant just draws like a vet foul on Jaden Ivey, gets it on the baseline, and just uses his rip through and makes body contact, and Ivey gets called for a foul. And then Malcolm Brogdon hits 2 jumpers late, and all of a sudden from 18, it's at 12. Crucially 12, allowed them to do their work in the third quarter and make it a game. The Blazers really won this game. I talked about the possession battle is going to be crucial for them all year. Pistons took 90 field goals and 11 free throws. That's that right there for you is 101 shooting possessions. Well, the Blazers took 33 free throws to go along with 81 field goals. That is a little bit more, 114 shooting possessions. That's it. That's it. Just they got to win. That's going to be crucial for them, is win the possession game, because they shot 7 of 20 from 3. They're not going to light it up. I mean, that's not even that bad of a shooting night. It's like 1-3 off of a good shooting night, but they're not a high volume 3-point shooting team. 20 is a very low number of threes to take in the modern NBA, and it's like they got to win it with possessions. They did it in this one by getting to the free throw line. Pistons committed a cajillion fouls in the fourth quarter, and the Blazers made sure it happened. That final 2.5 minutes of the first quarter kept the Blazers within shouting distance, right? From 18, where it's going to be tough, right? Going to be tough because you give up a 3 on the first possession of the second half. It's a 21-point game. It's like, okay, scramble mode. You're getting desperate. You're playing with different energy. But 12 heading into halftime is crucial. And because it was 12, it kept the door open for Shaedon Sharpe to dominate. That's what he did. That's what he did. 26 in the second half. Let's talk about my man Shea, who was awesome. First in the third quarter and then down the stretch to close the game. That's what we'll do in the second segment. Before we get there, let's talk PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made easy. You can play PrizePicks online at PrizePicks.com, but I play it on my phone. I I prefer their app. Super easy to use. I can make my selections in about 60 seconds and get going from there. How it works is you pick a player. You pick between 2 and 6 players on your ballot, and it's just you versus the statistical projections set by PrizePicks. You pick above or below the numbers set. So I play the NBA, but you can mix and match. You can play the NBA and NFL and whatever's in NHL, whatever's in season. You're going to find whatever sports are there right there on PrizePicks. But for me, it's things like points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. I line it up. I say Shaden Sharp's going to score more than 22.5 points. Bang. I'll go above that one. Win some money, get paid quickly with their safe and fast withdrawals. And right now, if you are a first-time user, why not go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA. Deposit $100, they're going to match you dollar for dollar up to $100. So go check it out. It's PrizePicks Daily Fantasy made easy. Oh, all right. So, Shaden Sharpe in the first half goes 1 of 5, 3 points. 3 points didn't even come until midway through the second quarter. A scoreless first quarter, a scoreless opening 6 minutes or 5.5 minutes of the second quarter. Hits a bucket. It's 1 of 5, 3 points. The Blazers are down double digits on the road in Detroit. This doesn't feel like a big Shea game. I thought he was pretty good against the Raptors. He wasn't excellent, but he was pretty good against the Raptors. He's been good this season, undoubtedly good. But he hasn't had one of those just like hyper efficient, I'm him type of games. He's had moments where you're like, he didn't do that last year, he's getting better, or wow, he's making passes that he didn't make, or it's just like he's showing you little things that he's taken strides, right? Undoubtedly, he's showing you those things. This was an I'm him second half. This was absolutely him Henson as he's known. Like this was an impressive second half. 15 in the third quarter. And what I liked about the 15 in the third quarter is the variety of offense you see from Shaedon Sharpe. Some young guys, they do what they do, right? Dribble, pull up three. I can drive with the ball in my hands. If I run pick and rolls, I can go score. That's how I do it. Or I'm a spot up shooter. Put me on the wing. If I get open, bang. Or some combination of spot up and movement shooting, right? I can shoot. Like I can shoot with my feet set and I can come off screens and I can shoot. And that's what I do. Young guys usually kind of check a box, say, here's how I can score, and then they grow from there. Shaden Sharpe in this game scored in every which way he could in that third quarter, and the variety is what makes you feel good about his game going forward. He gets going early in the quarter with a couple drives. Shaden Sharpe, and you'll notice this when you watch him, that left shoulder is strong. If he gets the ball in his right hand and he can load up with a couple powerful dribbles, he can put his left shoulder into folks and really create space. Have dudes bounce off, draw contact, score through contact, get to the free throw line, or just get himself free, like get himself a little bit of room to make a layup. And he has such great hang time and such a good explosion off the floor that left shoulder getting into someone is a really solid move. Doesn't do it as well going to his left, but he's ball in his strong hands and in his right hands. Like that's tough. Defenders have trouble with him. And, Asar Thompson a couple times was like, nope. He's been a really active and good young defender. And Shaden Sharpe just shed him getting to the rim. Early on that third quarter, 2 drives to a strong right hand, gets buckets in the paints. One where Marvin Bagley kind of was like, I don't want any of that. I don't want to get crams on. And another one where he used, nice touch on a little, scooping layup with his right hand. Then he starts working off the ball. So 2 on-ball plays, then off the ball. First, a little curl cut. They run a pin down for him, so a screen that's facing the baseline. He comes up towards the 3-point line, and instead of going to the 3-point line, he curls into the paint. Malcolm Brogdon finds him. He scores, moving to his right hand. Really good in that direction. Really good off of one foot. Like he effortless leaper, and he can adjust in midair, and he's in the air longer than you. Like he's tough to deal with, right? And Scoot scores off the curl. Then Shea scores off the curl. Then Shea, they run a very similar action, steps behind the three-point line. They're going under, right? They're going under because they're worried about the curl. Steps back. As soon as he sees it, like sees it right away, like feels it on the catch. I'm going to be open. Bang, pops a three. Boom. Got him. Then comes down, and now he's feeling it, right? Like he's made 2 layups. He scored off a curl. He scored off a 3. Comes down and hits a top of the key 3 off the dribble. Cash. Then in transition, he gave up a bucket, runs the other way in transition, gets his feet set, hits a right wing 3. Cash. Like, that's off the dribble 3, catch and shoot 3 in transition, catch and shoot 3 in the half court, curling to the rim, and 2 strong right-hand drives. Dude just scores in every which way. What you really appreciate about Shaedon Sharpe's game is that you have seen it from the beginning grow, like from the foundation, where it was like, well, he doesn't really know how to play in the NBA, but he can shoot it. And, well, he doesn't really know how to play in the NBA, but, whoo boy, he has at least 1 dunk a week that just, like, is outrageous. And then at the end of the last year, it's like, okay, well, he's got some pick and roll juice. He can score a little bit off the dribble if you give him the ball. And even if if sometimes the passing is, maybe he sees it a step late, or his handle isn't that sharp, like, or isn't that strong. I probably shouldn't use sharp. Isn't that strong? Like, you know, he's figuring out a way to get it done. And then this year, right? It's like he's growing a little bit more, right? He's really comfortable coming off pick and rolls if you go under, setting his feet and taking threes. He's gotten better going to his right hand. He's kind of getting better reads on mid-range pull-ups where it's like, okay, if I get my feet set, I know I'm comfortable taking this little midi. In that stretch where I'm talking about, he also had they ran the same action, pin down where he's on the left side of the court. He comes up so he can get the ball in his right hand and attack middle, right? Like it's an action set up specifically to play to his strengths. He comes off the screen and went midi, and he actually got a shot blocked, right? Like he tried every permutation of that action. Curl, 3, pull up. He didn't catch it and drive and rescreen. So I guess that's what we'll see next game. But like you've seen his game grow last year to the end of last year to this year where he's looking even stronger. And then in the third quarter, he just scores in every which way. Every which way. The type of offensive variety that stars have. Shaden Sharpe is a long way away from being like a star in the league. But he's not that far away from being good. Like just straight up good. And this was the first game where it's like, oh, he's the best offensive player on the court. Like they don't have an answer for him. 29 points on 9 of 16, 7 boards, 5 assists, a steal, 2 blocks, and just 2 turnovers in 42 minutes. Did a lot of damage off the ball with Malcolm Brogdon handling, so it wasn't like he had a ton of opportunities on the ball until the final 4 minutes. Jeremy Grant gives the Blazers a lead with 6:50 left in the fourth quarter. Little split cut action where he gets it in the corner off a good handoff read by DeAndre Ayton. He could have thrown it to a cutting Toumani Camara, but that split cut where it's like two guys split off of each other. Grant fades, Toumani goes to the rim, bam, Grant hits a 3. Big bucket, hugely important because the Blazers have been fighting to come back. But they didn't put him away. Game's tied with 3:40 left. Blazers take a timeout, and they come out of an ATO, and they run an action for Shaedon Sharpe. It's a baseline out of bounds. For those that know this type of thing, blob wizard. This was not a slob wizard, but a blob wizard. And Chauncey runs a play that gets Shaedon Sharpe the ball on the move, coming off a stagger screen at the free throw line and moving towards the rim. And Malcolm Brogdon has a chance to read that cut, or is going to flow into a pick and roll. If that wasn't going to happen, it was going to flow into an empty side pick and roll. But he read the cut, and Shaedon Sharpe gets into his man, going left, gets fouled, hits 2 free throws, and they go up 2. And they didn't trail after that. After a Detroit miss, Shaedon Sharpe gets the ball and attacks hard to his right hand and draws a foul to put them up and makes 2 free throws to put them up 4. But this was the ball in his hand, top of the key, pick and roll, gets a screen, uses it, and just explodes hard to his dominant hand, knowing that he's faster than you, right? He can get to the rim and score. And then after Detroit scores and actually the free throws, Cade Cunningham split a pair of free throws, and the Blazers need a bucket. Sharpe, again, top of the key, gets a screen. This time drives hard left. He drove hard right the previous time, drives hard left, and draws a foul getting contact, and splits free throws to put the Blazers back up 3. Like, he showed all that variety and off-ball stuff in the third quarter with the curling and the popping out and running out in transition. And then in the fourth quarter, when they need it, final 4 minutes, he gets the ball in his hand and goes to work. Malcolm Brogdon had it late to close the door. He missed a jumper, and Toumani Camara got a rebound and one, and then Brogdon got himself the huge seal it jumper with the Blazers to make it a 3-possession game late. But Sharpe, that you can't run the same thing every time down the court. You need that variety. You need the help. And Sharpe, after showing you all the things he can do off the ball and showing you all the things he can do as like sort of that true pure shooting guard, right? Where he's not the initiator, but the plays are run for him as like the primary, but he's not the person initiating the play. He said, "Give me the dang ball." And he went and got himself to the free throw line because the Pistons have been in the bonus since the 7-minute mark. So he, in fact, on one of the fouls driving hard to his left, the last one where he ended up splitting the free throws, he was passing it off, right? They cut off the drive, and he's not as good going to his left, so he couldn't. It's not as fluid for him. But he was passing to the corner. It was going to end up being the right read. The guy was open in the corner. He just got fouled, and he got a couple free throws. Like, dude was really freaking good. It was really freaking good. Fun stuff. It is impossible not to enjoy this one. And after a stinker of a first half where he goes 1 for 5, carried him 26 in the second half, 15 in the third, 11 in the fourth, and brings him home in the final 4 minutes. Just a great game from Shaedon Sharpe. A 20-year-old figuring it out in real time. Just darn enjoyable. Let's talk about some other stuff. Scoot Henderson and DeAndre Ayton have a little bit of chemistry brewing, and it's pretty darn fun in and of its own right, even if it wasn't the reason the Blazers won this game. Talk about that in the third segment. First, let's talk FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. You are listening to Thursday, November 2nd show. And if you are a new customer, you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet tonight. The Pittsburgh Steelers play the Tennessee Titans Thursday night football on TV. They don't pay me. FanDuel does. On TV. You go and bet on my beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. $5, Steelers money line. You get in there. They're going to win. They're going to beat the Titans, and you're going to get $150 to play with. That's $150 when my team wins. You can bet on your team if you want to, but $150 to play with. Free bets, bonus bets. So if you think about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in the action than right now, like literally because tonight the Steelers play. FanDuel's super easy to use. The app is super clean, super simple, super intuitive, and when you win, they'll get you your money quickly. And there's a whole wide range of betting options. You don't just have to bet on the money line. You can bet on spreads for every game, player props, over-unders, live betting once the game starts, futures bets if you want to bet on Super Bowl winners or MVPs down the line. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Get into that NFL season. That's FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers. Scoot Henderson didn't play in the final 18 minutes of this game. He played 20 minutes and finished with 11 points and 7 assists. But for the moment it started, you knew that he was going to get it going more than he had. 2 games in a row where Scoot Henderson has looked more comfortable. No, as I'm recording this in the evening of November 1st, no update from the Blazers on Henderson's availability for Friday's game against the Memphis Grizzlies, the first of the in-season tournament games. Talk about that more in a moment. The first play of the game, Blazers win the tip, and they had a designed play from Chauncey Billups to have a lob option, which means that if you win the tip, Shaden Sharpe's going to set a back screen on Marvin Bagley on the center for the Detroit Pistons and give DeAndre Ayton a free run to the rim. And if Scoot gets it and the lob is there, throw it. Scoot gets it, the lob is there, he throws it, reverse dunk for DeAndre Ayton, starts the game, seconds into the game. An alley-oop from a couple steps in front of half court, on the Blazers side of half court to DeAndre Ayton for a bucket. But that wasn't the only time those two connected. We've been waiting for DeAndre Ayton to become a lob threat, and finally him and Scoot Henderson got some chemistry rolling. I don't think it should be that big of a surprise that it took him 5 games. DeAndre didn't even play that much in preseason, right? Like, they held him out of a bunch of preseason games because he's a vet. I thought at the time that it's like, it was a curious choice, and I think now, looking back, I would have played him at least in the half of one of those games, because on-court chemistry matters, and they had awful chemistry to begin this season. And I think the other alternative here is that, Mike, 3 out of 82 for this particular team don't matter. Shut up. And I say, you're right. You're probably right about that. But regardless, the Scoot DA chemistry was better. He found him for a couple more lobs, found him inside for another easy bucket. It was just cleaner. They had one where Scoot set him up for a nice little jumper, or nice little shot inside. He just missed it, right? But clearly those two had a better connection than they had. In fact, they hadn't connected on a lob dunk. The pick and roll between those two looked terrible in the opening games, and Scoot Henderson looked bad, and he's looked pretty darn good. 11-7 in this game. He's still making some turnovers he shouldn't make. Still, some of his shot selection is a little bit wonky. He's 19. He's young. He's figuring it out. But I thought he would be a better playmaker than he had been early in the season, and now we're starting to see it. And the chemistry, some of it is just very basic, like now they've played 5 games together, right? Now they've played 5 games together. They get the rhythm of each other. They kind of know where you want it, how you want me to set the screen, with the sort of pace that you're coming off screens, the pace that you need me to set the screen, how long you need me to hold it, kind of just like the basic, like you play with someone more often, you get more comfortable with what they want to do. But I also think the Blazers did a smart thing. They made a concerted effort to add secondary actions to the pick and rolls, so then there wasn't just 4 dudes standing in the paint staring. A lot of the stuff early in the season with Scoot would be, okay, let's spread everyone out, one guy in the corner, one guy in the other corner, one guy in the wing, and now let's run a high pick and roll. And maybe he can operate with just straight spread mid pick and roll, right? It's not like they're the only team in the league that runs everybody watch mid pick and roll stuff. Like, it's very, very common action, particularly when, the first action breaks down. But what the Blazers did with some initial actions was have multiple things happening. Simple things like they set a wedge screen, which is Shaedon Sharpe comes up and screens for DeAndre Ayton as he's rising up to set a screen. Shaden Sharp screens, he bumps DeAndre Ayton's man, and then he vacates. So not only does he set a screen so that DeAndre Ayton's man has to fight through a screen and be active, then he vacates and he brings his man into the action, away from the action. You can't get in natural help defense if you're guarding it away from the ball pick and then guarding a cut towards the rim for Shaden Sharp. That little action just engages the defense enough that when they run pretty much a clean side pick and roll, like a very simple action, the beginning of the start of it cleans things up and it leads to a dunk. It just makes the defense have to worry about more things. They had another one on a lob dunk from Scoot to DeAndre Ayton, where they just had Toumani Camara set a pin down screen for Jeremy Grant. So instead of standing and watching, Jeremy Grant is vacating where he was standing and moving to the corner and coming off a screen. So you get a secondary action away from the ball. Jeremy Grant's man is engaged. Toumani Camara's man is engaged. Those are natural helpers, and you have DeAndre Ayton rolling clean to the rim. And then once they get a couple easy ones, they've got their rhythm going, and they get a sort of another just like spread mid pick and roll where they got an easy dunk out of it. Ayton was 16 points, 8 of 13, and the 13 is the number, right? Just like the field goal attempts, get him 13 to 15 shots, maybe more in a night. But I think 13 is a really good sort of field goal attempts number. Still not getting to the free throw line. Will DeAndre Ayton ever shoot a second free throw in a game? Stay tuned to Game 6 on Friday. But this, it's always a mix of players and coaches, right? It's I think people want it to be binary, but it's both. Scoot and DA, better chemistry because they've played 5 games together, and Chauncey Billups and his staff had a better plan for how to get those two, and that's going to be crucial because DA is going to be their pick and roll guy, and it's like that's bread and butter of the league, right? Is pick and rolls. So you can't just like ditch it and like, well, we can't do that with Scoot. It's like, what is Scoot going to do if he's not running pick and rolls with DeAndre Ayton? How is he going to be involved? So they figured out how he's going to be involved. More off-ball movement, more engagement of other players who are away from the ball to make the defense just be a little more engaged. Not a ton, but a little more engaged. There's a chance that like better teams don't fall for it. Better teams see it and say, that's dummy action, ignore it. Ignore the dummy action, go get the ball. But for now, and I think it'll work often, having more guys do more stuff as opposed to just stand and watch pick and rolls makes it easier for Scoot and DA. And as they continue to develop that chemistry, it really matters. I'm going to get out of here on this, but I want to acknowledge this. Pistons are missing Jalen Duren. They're missing Alec Burks. They're not very good to begin with. You don't have to give it back. I think 2 things very, very strongly about this. I remember what happened at the beginning of the Blazers last season. They started 4-0. They won 10 of their first 14 games, and then they're pretty much bad after that. They were a bad basketball team following the first 14 games. I don't care how you slice it. They were not good. There's no reason to get out over your skis on this and say, you know what, 2 in a row, baby. This team's going to win. But they're playing the freaking 0-5 Memphis Grizzlies on Friday. That game's going to be on Blazers, Grizzlies, 7 p.m. on the SiriusXM app. You can listen to the Blazers local broadcast with Travis Demers and Michael Holton on the SXM app. Just search Blazers or Trail Blazers in the app. But that one's Friday, 7 p.m. They're playing another bad team. Or a team that's struggling, I should say. Totally winnable game. A totally winnable game. I think you do not need to apologize for the Blazers winning games to your friends. Say, yeah, but. But it would be foolish to say, they figured it out. The key to enjoying this team is to say, Shaden Sharp looking like he's figuring out. Scoot Henderson looking like he's way more functional with, back-to-back games with 7 assists. And DeAndre Ayton, they finally figured out how to use him. Stick with the truths. The truths are that Shaden Sharp looks freaking great, Scoot's looking better, and the Blazers have had a much better plan in Game 5 than they did in the first 3 games. They're making a little bit of progress. We will worry about the future, in the now. Enjoy Shea, enjoy Scoot and DA, and don't let anyone steal your sunshine. But I would caution you. Getting too far out too far over your skis could lead to some disappointment. That's why we try to live in the moment here on Locked On Blazers, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna live in the moment. You were listening to the Thursday show. Friday show, we'll talk about the Grizzlies game and look ahead to what's next for your Portland Trail Blazers. Tell your friends about the show. Available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, the only daily Trailblazers podcast. That's pretty fun. So if you're into it, tell your buddies. If you got a Blazer buddy, tell your buddy. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.